Railway travels to Ireland. From the southwest of the Republic of Ireland, we'll travel right across the country and eventually arrive in Portrush in Northern Ireland. Among other places, the train will take us to a world-famous stud farm, a train museum, and treat us to breathtaking views. Traveling by train is an ideal way to examine this beautiful country. Our starting point is Killarney, in the west of Southern Ireland. Here we're immediately embraced by the typical beauty of Ireland. Large lakes are surrounded by rough mountains in dark contrast with a clouded sky. Here, as elsewhere in the entire country, you'll also find romantic ruins of castles. Killarney is a popular city among tourists. The old heart of the city with its colorful houses and winding streets is wonderful. It's a perfect city in which to stroll around for hours and to nose in the numerous tiny little shops. However, we're in search of the station. The horse coach takes us to a 100-year-old charming little building. There are many different types of trains in Ireland. Old steam engines, modern intercity trains, and a few very special trains. This one, for example, is the radio train. This intercity has special carriages from where disc jockeys arrange the music. No wonder the Irish youth likes to make use of this musical conveyance. The railway network in Ireland is quite extensive and modern. Yet at some places, like Killarney, the tracks have to be worked by hand, the old-fashioned way. When this has been done, the journey through the green landscape can begin. We travel eastward, and the radio train takes us to Kildare.
I'd just like to welcome aboard this morning the railway television crew who are joining us from Holland, and they'll be travelling with us today on the train, and it's just to see how interesting and exciting we are.
The sky above the Kildare station is gray and dreary. After a journey of a couple of hours, the radio train arrives at a deserted-looking station. We get off to visit a place that's well known amongst horse lovers, the National Irish Stud Centre. Racehorses are bred here. Not just racehorses, but real champions. Horse races are very popular in Ireland, and a top horse is worth several millions. Some of the most expensive horses in the world stay here. No wonder they receive the best possible care from head to foot. One of the champions the center looks after is Magic Wonder. This stallion has won several millions in races. and his stud services are also worth lots of money. As a reward for his achievements, he's allowed to have his fling in the meadow once a day. Close to the stock farm, you'll find a horse auction. Celebrities from all over the world come bidding for prestigious thoroughbreds. The horses are critically examined for their race qualities or their breeding value. After the horse has been sold, the new owner hopes that his investment will pay off soon.
Final flight. Beachtown has gone through the inside, a touchdown in front. Oh, so grumpy. Milton Field coming through strongly in between horses. They're racing up towards the finish, and Milton Field and Beachtown on the outside. Roscastle on the inside. As Clifton Farman at the line reached.
We leave the fanatic sports lovers and get in the train again. It starts up slowly and continues its journey to Dublin in the east. It's a short but beautiful trip. This region has the same name as the place we've just left, Kildare. We travel through the foothills of the Wicklow Mountains, a little farther to the south. The sloping landscape moves past us, and the green pastures slowly change color as the sun sets. Connolly Station in Dublin. Outside, we immediately see the Liffey River that flows right through the city. The river once formed the boundary between the social classes of Dublin. The rich lived on the northern bank, the poor in the south. Dublin is a city of many faces. Modern offices alternate with old city buildings. It's always a busy scene here. Just north of the city, we find the splendid Malahide Castle, which dates from 1185. The medieval inhabitants have made room for modern tourists. Sightseers also come to visit the Fry Railway Museum, the largest model railway in Ireland. Here is a beautiful collection of all kinds of handmade models from home and abroad. More than 150 years of train history pass in front of your eyes. From miniature to life size, here the so-called DART train arrives. The train service is restricted to the neighborhood of Dublin. This fast train is very popular among the non-residents who work in Dublin. Nothing special in itself, were it not for the fact that this train travels along a picturesque route. The DART travels back and forth along the Bay of Dublin. This coastal route is often compared to the Bay of Naples. Apart from the fact that the sun doesn't quite appear as often as in Italy, this comparison is not a bad one at all. After this lovely trip, the Dart arrives again in the capital city of Dublin. Slowly, the suburbs move past us until we're again in the heart of the city. The Dart arrives at the central station. It's a crowded station used by tourists and commuters. The facade of the central station has been there for over a century. Perhaps the station doesn't look big, but behind this front is a huge, splendid hall. The station is a place of arrival and departure, not just for trains traveling through Ireland. From this place, many people also travel to Northern Ireland, to Belfast to be exact. The Irish Rail Company and the Northern Ireland Railways service the connection between both countries. We too are getting ready for the journey by intercity to the North Irish capital. The intercity travels from Dublin on its way to Belfast in the north. The famous beauty of the Irish landscape is evident all around us. Traveling to the Northern Ireland, nothing indicates the enormous contrast with the Republic of Ireland. Since 1922, the island has been divided into two countries. The Catholic Republicans are often diametrically opposed to the British-oriented Protestants. A border between both countries isn't perceptible. Northern Ireland consists of 6 so-called counties. This is the county of Armagh. It's known as the Apple Orchard of Ireland. After a trip of a few hours, the train arrives at the central station of Belfast. Although it's called Central Station, it's not at all centrally located. It's situated on the outskirts of the city, as a matter of fact. This station has hardly any special features, except for the chilly draft down your neck. We get off to pay a visit to the city. The intercity continues on its way to Londonderry. central station, we have to take the bus to get to the center. The dull station is no comparison with the beautiful buildings that show off their beauty in the old heart of the city. Because of the violence in its street, this city is unfortunately in the news regularly, in a negative way, all over the world. Fortunately, Belfast has more to offer. The many old buildings in the center have been restored carefully. Take the town hall, for example. This building, built in limestone, dates from 1903. Besides historic pillars, the entire town hall consists of a big white block with brass domes. In Belfast, the old and the new keep alternating. A few kilometers outside of Belfast, you'll find the little town Cultra. Nationwide, it's known for the transport museum you'll find here. Here, the jewels of the Irish Railway Company are on display. It's the biggest collection in Ireland. Showpiece number 1 is the Maeve. This engine weighs no less than 135 tons and was built in 1939. With relation to trains, Ireland has a glorious past. By December 1835, the first railway station was already built. It connected Dublin to Kingston. After the success of the first railway section, the construction of a complete network of railway lines was started throughout Ireland. During the first years of the construction, more than 500,000 people worked on the Irish Railway. The Irish tracks are wider than those in the rest of the world. Instead of the usual 1.5 meters, the distance between the two rails is here 1.6 meters. In the century following the first little train, the Irish built many hundreds of kilometers of railway. In a land that wasn't very accessible for either human or animal, travel suddenly appeared easier with the coming of the train. Big cities were connected by rail, and the Irish Railway Company had its heyday. One of the dozens of sections ran from Belfast to Portrush. For more than a century, the Portrush Flyer was a prosperous line, until its serious decline in the 60s and 70s. The steam train was in danger of becoming extinct, but a group of enthusiastic steam fans managed to retain a number of the old locomotives. That's why the Portrush Flyer keeps going until this very day. Practicing great care, the volunteers managed to keep the locomotives in excellent condition. Once a week, the Portrush Flyer makes its trip from Belfast to Portrush. Before the steam engine can get moving, the fire has to be poked up and the tanks filled with water.
Put her off there, Johnny. A bit more.
Unlike former days, now only tourists travel on the Portrush Flyer. The volunteers not only managed to keep the locomotives in repair, they also succeeded in saving some splendid carriages from demolition. Sitting on red plush, the travelers are taken for a journey to the north. Once the steam locomotive, with the beautiful name of Merlin, gets started, we travel toward Portrush in the north of Ireland. The Portrush Flyer travels leisurely through the North Irish landscape. The tourists on board have every chance to enjoy the surroundings. After a trip of a couple of hours, the sea is in view, and the Portrush Flyer has accomplished its nostalgic journey. Although the weather does not always cooperate, Portrush is a well-known seaside place among the Irish. Last century, this Victorian town was already a favored place amongst the wealthy in the country. The beaches here are safe, and anglers especially love to go to sea here and cast their fishing lines. However, the reason for being here is that Portrush is situated on the Causeway Coast. This is a world-famous coast because of its fantastic panorama and special rock formations. Thousands of stones lie together in an exceptional way, forming a giant staircase. The Giant's Causeway came into being after liquid lava flowed into the valley. Originally, it was one big mass of stone, but after the lava cooled down, it shrank, and the pillar-shaped stones came into being. In all, there are more than 40,000 stones that were shaped this way. With this beautiful natural phenomenon, we conclude this rail journey through Ireland. For our next episode of Railway, we travel to Romania. We'll start in the capital Bucharest and travel into the Carpathian Mountains. Traveling through this romantic country is like a trip back into a colorful past. So join us next time on Railway.
Yeah.